Just some thoughts on God's creation, on man, on Jesus Christ, and his ascension in bodily form, what that means for us. And I've been thinking about the topic of the doctrine of the creation of man for some time. It is a hot topic these days because evolutionary theory is so influenced and been integrated into so much of what we think that many times we think, well, that has nothing to do with religion, but really it does. Today we're seeing that many theologians, even conservative ones, are downplaying the whole idea of a real historical Adam. They are teaching that Adam was only a representative of maybe a tribe that had evolved, and at some point that one person in the evolutionary chain became conscious and became morally aware, and he became representative for everyone from that point on. Others say that that's not even true, that it was just a story to embody the idea that man is that gives us meaning for life, whatever that may be. Of course, the attack on historical Adam and his fall with original sin. If there was evolution, there is no actual disobedience to God, and in a fall, there's simply just an awareness that they are morally, in some way morally culpable, but no real original sin, which then, of course, casts the atonement in a negative light. In fact, you have to do away with Christ's atoning sacrifice, or you have to make it mean something different, which many theologians are doing today, and pastors as well. And of course, that also has ramifications for the ascension of Jesus Christ. How did he ascend? Was he really in a human body, and is he in a human body, or was he a disembodied spirit? It really doesn't matter. He just rose conceptually. It just teaches us something that we're supposed to gain from all these untruth stories. We're supposed to learn something true from something that's not true. But I want to go back for just a moment, because I've been thinking about this attack on the historical Adam, and the churches many times. I don't want to paint with too broad a brush here, but so often the willingness for our theologians and pastors to capitulate in areas where they're told that this is science, stay out of this, just stay with your heart and within the four walls of your church. I would just point out that evolution, of course, isn't a science, it's a religion. There's only interpreted facts, and all of those had been interpreted through the doctrine of God creating man in his own image, a real Adam and Eve, all the way up until, well, it wasn't even Darwin. It was maybe 100 years before Darwin. Many evolutionary theories came to the forefront. In fact, Darwin's grandfather was a proponent of evolution before Darwin ever got to it. And there was others that had far more advanced evolutionary theories than Darwin ever did. Several French scholars and others. But the desire has never been to develop something scientifically. It's always been a desire to reinterpret what we've already seen. A skull that is interpreted one way the day before Darwin is all and we look at it and we say that's 6,000 years old. Now we use a whole different filter, and we interpret it as 6 million years old. Nothing has changed. Nothing scientifically has changed. The fact hasn't changed, only the way that we interpret that fact or desire to look at it through a worldview. It is a competitive religion. It's not science. But so often pastors and theologians are scared off from that because we think that science is all-knowing and is all-powerful, when really science was actually a tool that Christianity gave the world. It said that there is a creator God and a creation that can be explored and that the world isn't, the earth isn't Gaia, the earth goddess, and but be that as it may, I've really been thinking about what this means. We have come to the point where even with the historical Adam, I think maybe the stage had been set for even discrediting that maybe years ago because of our understanding of what took place, the sin that took place in the Garden of Eden. This was drawn to my attention as I had been looking at how theologians could discard Adam, and it was happening back in Francis Schaeffer's day. He wrote a book called Genesis in Space and Time, in which he strongly sets forth the biblical truth, and he would say it's undeniable biblical truth, that God created Adam as a special person, and it wasn't an evolutionary deal. It wasn't over 6 million years that God had created Adam, and that Adam had really sinned. And one of the things that he drew my attention to was how dramatic the consequences would have been from Adam sinning, not just simply getting thrown out of the garden. Well, let me just jump ahead a minute. If you look if you believe in Noah and a real worldwide flood, you would also believe that worldwide flood with the waters bursting forth and then coming down, and literally the geography would have been changed, geology would have been changed, maybe even species of animals, would have changed the entire environment, where some that had lived before could no longer live. In terms of our atmosphere and oxygen, all those things play into it, and most Christians would realize, if they believe in that there was an incredible disruption that changed the fabric of everything. That when you looked at the earth the day after the flood, or as the waters recede, that it would have been unrecognizable to Noah and to those that were with him. It would have been totally different, dramatically different than what they had grown up with, what they had just previously known a few months earlier. And Schaeffer in his book starts to talk about how he alludes to, he doesn't really pull it out, he just kind of gives you some things to think on that has really been on my mind. He talks about the effect of sin and how dramatic the change must have been after Adam sinned. We so often think, well, Adam sinned, death came in, it wasn't that big of a deal because he got booted out of the garden, and then he died. Schaeffer points out a couple things. One is that the earth was cursed by God before the day. The day before Adam and Eve sin, the earth is not only good, but it's very good. It is producing luscious fruit, vegetables. The animals are awesome. I mean, they are everything that they were designed to be. Adam is learning how to take care of them and learning how to bring out all of the best characteristics of them. They are all tame. They are all obedient to him. They are all there to be under the stewardship of man and to glorify God. The moment after Adam is cast out, or even you could say that just a few minutes or simultaneous with God's judgment, that there was more that took place than what we might think. Schaeffer says, what must have taken place when sin brought death in to a world that knew no death? What had to transpire? Well, we know that Adam didn't die immediately, but we do know that death did come in. And Schaeffer points out that must have been an incredible thing, because what happened was that the entire earth was affected. I mean, all of a sudden the earth convulses, and there's it goes from producing an exceedingly abundantly above what you could ask or think in great luscious produce to hardly bring forth anything at all. I mean, it takes a lot of work by Adam now to he brings it forth, the food by the fruit, by the sweat of his brow. Something took place. It just wretched creation. animals that had never died, all of a sudden now they're immediately affected by death. And I got to thinking about what could have happened. Maybe even some of the dinosaurs that we thought maybe became extinct after the flood. Maybe that's the day. Maybe that day, on that time, with death introduced, something so dramatic to the earth changed in such a significant way that even the dinosaurs couldn't live. Maybe that's where they themselves began their path to extinction. Man's DNA must have changed. All of a sudden, he's built to live forever, and now death comes in, so his DNA structure has to change. The genetic makeup changes. Death comes to man. We know that morally, that it doesn't take very long. Something changed in the thinking of man that would have affected not only his, we know that psychology affects your health, but think of what murder does. When Cain murders his brother, something must transpire. We see very controversial today. They're talking about how homosexuality is, that genetic structure affects a homosexual, but now scientists are looking, and they're taking it the reverse way. Does it appears that that homosexual behavior affects the genetic, or the I guess the DNA makeup of people. It's not that the genetic makeup makes a person homosexual. It's that acting in homosexual ways and that lifestyle actually reverses it. It's that it changes the genetic structure. What took place? It had to have been a tremendous change that took place. We know that there was a tremendous change to the body of a human. For instance, Eve. All of a sudden, God says, you know, not only you're going to have children, but now it's going to be through pain and a lot of suffering that you're going to have these children. Something transpires that is so far beyond what we have normally thought that is. I think we can't even comprehend it. Something that must have been on the scale of the flood must have transpired without the flood in the Garden of Eden, when mankind sinned and brought death. It changed the whole universe. The Bible says now that Jesus now reconciles. He's there restoring, and bringing into relationship everything with God the Father. What must have taken place, and so when we discount a historical Adam, we do that because, well, all of the fossil record points to evolution, when it doesn't, first of all. But if we buy into that, we're looking past a paradigm that would have caused a significant, and I would say something must have happened on the Garden of Eden, or around the entire world at that time, with death entering in, that was so convulsive to the universe that would have thrown out of whack anything that, if we're looking at just time happening the way it is today, would have been completely different.